establishing linkages with research institutions in Western Visayas and all over the country, and teaching my students laboratory and field techniques which would help them in the conduct of the research work. The judges were amazed that even in the absence of sophisticated technology, my students were able to come up with research output beyond their expectations. At this point in time, I want to show some slides of what I and my students do in our science research class. In that slide, I'm teaching my students how to taxonomize plants. You cannot teach taxonomy inside the classroom. You have to go out of the classroom. You can do that downstairs around your school when there are plants. But in that slide, I was lucky to bring my students to the mangrove forest in Ibahay, Aklan, a 70-hectare mangrove forest and the last remaining virgin mangrove forest in the Visayan area. In that activity alone, my students were able to identify 33 species of mangroves which were reported to the Southeast Asian Fisheries and Development Center. Next slide. It's not very clear, but on that slide, the lodging inn becomes our laboratory. When you're a teacher, any place can be a classroom or a laboratory. I'm teaching my students a new technique, the use of sea grasses as indicators of environmental quality, age reconstruction technique. By just getting a few samples of these plants from the field and using mathematical computations, you will be able to determine how many of these plants are growing per square meter per year, how many are dying per square meter per year, and you can compute for the net recruitment rate. If it's negative, then something bad is happening in the coastal area. You can correlate that with the water quality parameters. Actually, I learned the technique from 2 scientists in Netherlands. There are less than 10 people in the Philippines using the technique now, and I realized that it can be passed on even to high school students. But before I was able to pass the technology to my students, I did a study for 1.5 years myself. I dived every 2 weeks in Guimaras Strait just to determine how many days it would take for one leaf to grow. And when I have found out that it took only 10 days for one leaf to grow, na standardize ko na, I was able to pass the technique to my students. Okay, next slide. Well, the lodging inn becomes our laboratory. The girl in front is identifying plants collected in a forest, and the boy at the back is identifying bacteria collected from water samples, which were also collected from a nearby fish farm, to determine which of these bacteria might cause disease in prawns and cultured fishes. Okay, next slide. I was able to bring my students for a field study as far as Samal Island, Davao del Norte, no? So from Iloilo to Samal. This is what I meant by establishing linkages all over the country. When I presented the results of my students' work to scientists at the UP Marine Science Institute, they told me, this is wonderful. Extend your study area. We will provide you with funding. So, dinala ko sila, and it's a very beautiful learning experience for my students. We were accompanied by professional divers from UPMSI. Okay, next slide. I was able to bring my students as far as Malita, Davao del Sur, because these are areas with very abundant marine resources. Meron kaming significant findings dyan of international impact because sea grasses are plants, grasses actually growing in the sea. And based sa aming literature search, my students found out that based on published literature, less than 10% of these plants flower annually. Ang finding ng mga students ko dyan is that 52% of the plants of a particular species flowers annually. Sabi ng mga estudyante ko, Ma'am, ang lalandi ng mga halaman dito, bata pa namumulaklak na. And we were trying to analyze, is that a good indicator or a bad indicator? Later on, we found out that it was a bad indicator. The plants there are so stressed because of pollutants coming from nearby fish farms. Flowering at an early stage is a coping mechanism so that their population will not be eradicated in that coastal area. Okay, next slide. We have a marine station in Guimaras Island, and from time to time, I would bring my students there. Next slide. The Southeast Asian Fisheries and Development Center is one of our linkages, and those 2 girls were able to come up with a research which was published in an international journal. Next slide. Okay, we were crossing a river, no? So one time, nag-cross kami ng river kasi papasok kami sa forest. Mababa lang ang tubig. Pagbalik namin, hanggang baywang na. Hanggang baywang ko kasi matangkad ako. Yung iba hanggang dito na. Sabi ko, problema ito. How can we cross that river? Natakot ako. But then I saw one big guava tree. Sabi ko sa mga bata, climb the tree and hold onto a branch. And then swing your body to the other side. And they told me, Mom, you demonstrate. Well, a teacher is a role model. So yun ang ginawa ko. Umakyat ako sa puno, hinawakan ko yung isang branch, tapos I prayed, tapos swung my body to the opposite side. Hindi ako nahulog, na I was able to cross the river. And they told me, Mom, how are you able to do that? Sabi ko, easy. Think you can fly. So kung teacher ka, you do not just teach concepts, no? You also teach them survival skills. Next slide. Well, there we are discussing ecological concepts, and in the absence of a blackboard, the sand becomes our blackboard. Okay, next slide. My student there is doing a study, applied research on the effect of substrate enrichment on the growth and yield of mushrooms. Next slide. Two girls there are doing a survey, ethnobotanical study, no? The relation of how people relate to plants in a particular area. Next slide. I share my teaching method or methods by giving workshops to teachers in Western Visayas and other parts of the country. Next slide. Okay, next slide. So I've been all over, no, the Philippines. Next slide. That's the awarding ceremony in Malacanang. No? That's the President, DOST Secretary Alabastro, Intel Foundation President Craig Barrett, and Mar Rojas. That's Craig Barrett, no? He has to go here sa Philippines to bring us to Malacanang. Actually, when I was in the US, sabi ko, wow, international awardee ako, papunta ako sa Malacanang, no? So, Intel set a meeting. 3 times kaming nag-set ng appointments sa Malacanang. 3 times din ako bumili ng damit. 3 times din na-postpone, no? So, and it took Intel President Craig Barrett to bring us to Malacanang. Okay, next slide. I went to the US with high school students actually because the Educators Academy where the teaching competition was held was back-to-back with the International Science Fair. The International Science Fair is the Olympics of the best high school science projects in the world. That boy there at the far right is a high school student from the Mindanao State University Iligan Institute of Technology. He competed for an individual project in the field of microbiology. And the 3 others were high school students now from the Manila Science High School. They competed for a team project in physics. These students were competing with 1,200 other students worldwide. So when we went to the US, I told them, no, do not pressure yourselves too much. The fact that you are the country's representative to this international competition, winner na kayo in your own rights, no? Kung manalo pa tayo sa US, that's already bonus. You should enjoy, learn from the works of other students, interact with them. That's the most important thing. We were not really expecting to bag grand awards. But May 17, no, the awarding ceremony was really a glorious moment for the Philippine delegation. It was attended by around 4,000 people, no, in the US. When it was announced that the student from the Iligan Institute of Technology won 2nd place grant award in the field of microbiology, our group was ecstatic. It was not even a minor award, it was a grand award. Naiiyak na kami, tumatalon na kami, and all that. Tayo ba yun? Kayo ba yung tinawag? Kasi we really could not believe that we will win a 2nd place grant award. When it was announced that the students from Manila Science High School won 1st place grant award for physics, our group was delirious. Nagdideliryo na kami. No? The last award to be called was the Teaching Award. And when it was said that for the first time in the history of the event, an Asian teacher won and a Filipino, there was a standing ovation from the crowd as the Philippine flag was waved in the air. And for the first time in my life, feeling ko talaga si Judy Ann Santos ako. Kasi pinaakyat ako sa stage, walang second, walang third, walang fourth, tapos nakafocus ang camera. No? I didn't know what to feel. Happy ba ako? Iiyak ba ako? Smile, which would look better in the camera. So I saw this group of Filipino community, no? These people rushing forward. Yung iba, wala ng sapatos, no? Umiiyak, bring their cameras. At pagbaba ko, sabi ng isang babae, nakakainis ka. Sabi ko, bakit? Winner na nga ako eh. Kasi lahat kami dito umiiyak, ikaw lang hindi umiiyak. Sabi, ma'am, kasi alam ko na mananalo na ako eh. Well, it's not kayabangan actually. Our road to attaining that international recognition was a tough one. No? We almost never made it to the US. Dahil yung competition namin, my competition is supposed to start May 10, ang mga bata 12. Yung visa interview namin nakaschedule pa May 29. So even with letters coming from Secretary Alabastro to the US Embassy, no, we were not granted an early interview. Actually, May 8, wala pa akong passport eh. Wala pa akong visa pala. So I told Intel, ano nang gagawin natin? Sabi ng Intel, if worst comes to worst, video conferencing na lang. You present your paper here and makikita ka doon. Sabi ko, napaka-unfair naman yan. No? I have been doing everything. So I said, I want to seek a meeting with Secretary Gingona, just provide me with a vehicle. So binigyan nga ako ng Intel ng transportation. I went to the Department of Foreign Affairs together with those 4 students. We were not entertained because we did not have an appointment. I went to the UNESCO. Sabi ko sa mga bata, punta tayo sa UNESCO, that's an international organization. Sigurado namang pakinggan tayo, no? So, pumunta kami sa UNESCO. Sabi ng taga-UNESCO, do we have something to do with this competition? Sabi ko, wala, but I just need an escort. I want to see Secretary Gingona. Siguro medyo kapal na lang ng mukha, at saka siguro ayaw din nila ako mapahiya, they gave me an escort. Pag-akyat sa taas, pinahintay kami ng mga 4 na oras. No? Actually, nakahintay lang kami sa labas, yung mga bata umuupo na sa sahig, walang chair, and from time to time, pinapagalitan na ng guard, no? Because the students were really tired. After 4 hours, I told them, let me in, kahit ako na lang. And that executive secretary said, okay, so you just have to wait, no? Because Secretary Gingona will see you in a few minutes. Alas 5 na, sabi ko, bakit wala pa? Hindi ako tinatawag. Yun pala, hindi naman pala alam ni Secretary Gingona na I was waiting outside, no? So, 5 o'clock, may nakita akong lumabas sa door. Sabi ko, siya na yata yun na, kasi ang daming security guards, no? So, I ran and blocked the elevator. Nagulat siya, nanlaki ang mata niya, na malaki na nga, no? And I told him, Secretary, just a minute of your time. I was holding kasi a very beautiful letter from the USA. Secretary, just a minute of your time. I'm an international finalist, and I need an endorsement letter to the US Embassy so that I can be granted an early interview. No? So nagulat siya, he doesn't know what I'm talking about. No? He called his executive secretary, who was also fuming mad dahil ginawa ko yon, at sabi niya, okay, Dr. Biyo, pumasok ka, pag-usapan natin yan. And she told me, okay, we will give you an endorsement letter. Sabi ko, can I wait for that letter now? Sabi niya, no, it's already past 5, nobody will type it. So I will give you, we will fax the letter tomorrow at the US Embassy. So sabi ko sa mga bata, uwi tayo. As early as 4 o'clock in the morning, again, pumunta kami sa US Embassy ng mga estudyante. Para kaming mga preso na nakaganyan-ganyan sa rehas, kasi wala naman kaming appointment and we do not know what to do, no? So nakaganyan-ganyan pa rin kami. At 8 o'clock, no, we called the Department of Foreign Affairs and asked, no, we want to follow up on that endorsement letter. Ang sabi ng Executive Secretary, I'm sorry, we cannot give you that endorsement letter because we cannot guarantee that you are coming back. It was a very painful experience for me and the students. Actually, right at that moment, I cried, no. Natulo na yung luha ko kasi sabi ko, I am already judged worldwide, no? From 4,000, naging 90 kami, naging 5. Bakit hindi ako pagkatiwalaan dito sa Pilipinas? And I told the students, never mind, something is bound to happen. Do not leave this area. Something is bound to happen. Hindi namin alam kung anong mangyari yun. Pero ako, very strong ang feeling ko na we can go to the US. At around 10 o'clock, may nakita akong babae, nakaganyan pa rin ako sa rehas. Ang saya-saya niya, no? Ang sayang babae ito. Tapos tinawag ko siya, Ma'am, excuse me, were you able to get your visa? Sabi niya, yes, I was given a 10-year multiple entry. Sabi ko, mabait ba ang konsul? Napakabait. Sabi ko, ma'am, please, go back to that console, bring this paper. Do not pass through that window, do not pass through that guard, dumiretso ka lang. She was an angel, naniwala siya sa akin. No? So pagpasok daw niya, hala, pumunta siya doon. And then pagdating niya sa window, sabi niya, console, there's a woman out there was a very big problem. Sinalpak niya yung paper, ginanon niya. At dahil siguro sa letterhead, nakakatch ng attention ng consul, nakatch ang attention ng consul, binasa niya yung letter. And the consul was very mad. Sabi ng consul, why does she have to go through all this? So, pinalabas niya yung babae, pinakuha yung visa namin, yung passport namin sa guard, and hindi na kami in-interview na we were granted a visa. So, that morning, I left for the US. No? Nauna ako sa mga bata. I went there alone. Sabi nila, ang tagal ng biyahe sa US. Sa akin naman, feeling ko parang 1 oras lang. Because for 16 hours, I was asleep. I was so tired kasi, no? Emotionally drained, very tired, very exhausted. Tapos, pagdating ko sa US, it was in Louisville. Tumitingin ako, sabi ko sa sarili ko, bakit sabi nila ang US maraming malalaking building? Bakit para akong nasa Antique? Okay. So natulog lang ako, the following day, start na ang competition. First day of the competition. When I entered the judging area, the table in front was occupied by the board of judges. I think there were 15 of them. At the left side of the room, the table was occupied by the finalists from China and her supporters. There were around 20 of them. From the Ministry of Education, she had interpreters, journalists, no? Ang dami nila, and they were very happy. They were very maingay, no? And very happy. The other side of the room, the table was occupied by the 3 finalists from the US and their supporters. Napakaganda ng Pilipina kasi yung kanyang table nasa gitna. And it was empty. I sat there alone. I went to the US bringing a CD for my presentation. At that time kasi wala pa akong laptop. Ngayon may planeta na ako. I had 3 laptops. I brought a CD for my presentation. I also brought some transparency. Sabi ko, if my CD won't work, at least may backup ako, no? I brought some transparencies in case my CD won't work. Actually, may malaki akong bag. Security blanket ko yan. Kasi inside the bag, I had Manila papers, masking tapes, scissors, pentel pens, and colored chalk, no? Coming from a third world country, I was prepared for the worst. It turned out I was the only finalist without a notebook computer. So, tumayo ako, pumunta sa Intel organizer. I told her, I'm sorry, I don't have a laptop computer. Ang sabi niya sa akin, I'm sorry, we cannot provide one for you. Sabi ko, basta, dapat lumabas itong presentation ko, mapalabas ko lang ito, siguradong panalo na ako. Tumingin ako doon sa table ng mga Chinese, sabi ko, Asian neighbors naman kami, siguro tutulungan. Asian neighbors naman kami, siguro tutulungan niya ako, no? At saka last night, sabi ko, kasama ako sa group nila, no? Friends na kami. Actually, sumasama ako sa kanila kasi takot ako mawala. Napakalaki ng venue, no? At saka wala akong kasama, so I was with their group. So I went to their table, and in my very sweet voice, I said, I'm sorry, I don't have a laptop computer. Can I borrow your laptop? I wasn't expecting for her reaction. She hugged onto her computer, ginanon niya, no? She didn't want me to touch it. Of course, that's very understandable kasi baka masira ko yung program niya. And this was happening in front of the eyes of the judges. Sabi ko, kapal mukha na lang, ayaw ko nang bumalik sa chair ko na wala akong dala. So, umikat ako and went to the table of the American finalists and told them, I'm sorry, I don't have a laptop computer. The male finalist stood up and said, oh, I see. So you don't have a computer? Okay, this is how a computer looks. Well, he has not been to the Philippines na baka akala niya kung saan tayong planeta. Dinagdagan niya pa, this is the hard disk, this is the mouse, and basically, all computers work the same. Sabi ko sa sarili ko, ilongga kasi ako, may imo kagid karon, andaman mo lang ha? When it was my turn to present, one judge stood up and asked, "Do you need an interpreter?" I said, "No, thanks. I can manage." And then the personnel from Intel volunteered to run my presentation. I told her, "No, thanks. I can do it." Nung sinabi ko na I can do it, nagulat sila. Tumingin sila sa akin, no? And when I was presenting, everybody was so silent, no? Gulat na gulat sila sa presentation ko. And after that presentation, the American finalist said, no, "Wow, you're so cool. You know more than us." And that was music to my ears. Sabi ko, 4 days pa ang competition, pero ngayon pa lang alam ko panalo na ako. So ladies and gentlemen, what am I telling you? That despite our country's limited resources, Filipinos can compete globally given the proper training, support, and exposure. Our winning at the international scene may not reflect the general condition of science education in the country, but with our concerted efforts, my dear fellow men, we can move this country forward and show the world that we are a globally competitive race. Last May, I was in Cleveland, Ohio to present my methods of teaching to about 150 teachers from 17 countries. I had other tasks such as acting as team facilitator for the Spanish-speaking teachers of Costa Rica, Brazil, and Argentina. And even if I tell the US organizers that I don't speak Spanish, they won't seem to believe. They thought that having a planet named after me will entitle me to speak any language. So even if yung sinasabi ko lang, si, they thought I was saying something. After the Educators Academy, when the evaluation came out, nagulat ako because out of a perfect score of 5, I got a score of 4.8, the highest so far for any presenter during the academy. Filipinos are indeed talented and will excel and have excelled at the international level in their individual capacity. But as a country, that's another story. As a country, we lag behind. And I think this is because we lack the spirit of community, which is very strong among progressive nations. In Cleveland, I presented to the teachers the state of science and mathematics education in the country. It was actually a bleak scenario. Because according to international surveys, in 1995, out of 40 countries surveyed, we ranked number 38 in terms of elementary and high school science and math education. In the year 2000, there was another survey, and out of 38 countries surveyed, we ranked number 36. Number 37 is Morocco, and number 38 is South Africa. And even with this picture, one American educator stood up and said, "I believe that the Philippines has still a very strong science education because the best nurses in the US are Filipino nurses." I was tempted to add, because before they became nurses, they were doctors. But in fairness naman talaga, no? Filipino nurses naman talaga are the best nurses in the world. And they also told me that many of the best teachers in the US are Filipino teachers. And I met a group of these teachers in Boston. No? They told me, "Alam mo, Dr. Biyo, napakadali magturo dito sa US." Sabi ko, "Bakit?" "Kasi ang mga estudyante namin ang bubobo. Dollar na yung ginagasta nila araw-araw. Pag pinasulat mo ng dollar, wrong spelling." Tapos sabi nila, "Alam mo, ang dali kasi actual teaching time namin dito is only 20 minutes. Sabi ko, "Anong ginagawa niya sa 40 minutes? Ang first 20 minutes daw, yung sinasabi na lang nila is, sit down, sit down, sit down, sit down, sit down, sit down." 20 minutes na pinapaupo mo yung students, no? After napaupo mo na sila, ang next 20 minutes mo daw, ang sasabihin mo lang is, "Shut up, shut up, shut up, shut up, shut up." By the time na napaupo mo na sila at nag-shut up na sila, you're so tired that you would end up giving them a quiz, no? Lang down. I have 5 co-teachers who are there, no? Pumunta kasi yung recruiter sa school namin, no? Luckily, it was summer and he was able to meet 5 of these teachers only. The best teachers in Philippine Science High School, they are now in the US. And they told me, "Ma'am, sana kung ma-increase lang ang salary natin at mabigyan lang kami ng tayo ng extra benefits, gusto naming bumalik sa Philippines kasi iba talagang magturo. We miss Filipino students." Yung biology teacher namin, sabi niya, the first day na pumasok ako sa classroom, binato ako ng eraser. Yung English teacher namin, sabi niya, sumusulat ako sa blackboard and all my students were shouting. When I faced them, yung hair daw, yung buhok ng isang student was on fire. Sinindihan ng katabi niya. Tapos yung isa naman daw, sabi niya, they were all shouting. My classroom was flooded. Kasi while I was writing on the board, they turned on all the faucets. No, sabi niya. There are times daw na sabi nila, ang self-esteem nila, parang gusto na nilang pulutin sa sahig. No? So sabi ko, in times like this, na parang feeling nyo, yung self-esteem nyo, gusto nyo lang pulutin sa sahig, what keeps you staying here in the US? Sabi nila, ay, Dr. Biyo, pag ganyan ang nangyayari, sinasabi na lang namin sa sarili namin, kung minsan allowed pa nga $, $. When I went home to Iloilo after the competition in the US, my school gave me a very warm welcome. During the convocation, students and teachers expressed how proud they are of me. I told them, I am very proud of you too. It is you who has placed me where I am now. It is our experiences together which has brought world attention to the fact that, hey, there's a world-class school out there in Iloilo, a school with world-class teachers and students. I told the teachers, and I quote Mr. De Quieros from the Philippine Daily Inquirer, that being world-class doesn't mean going internationally and showing our best out there. Being world-class is passion and commitment to our profession. Being world-class is giving our best to teaching, and being world-class starts right inside the classroom. As I look back at my teaching experiences for the past 24 years, I can say that what I had been doing is the embodiment of the revised basic education curriculum. Integrating activities which touch on real-life situations of the learner and the community has trained my students to be critical and analytical thinkers. Furthermore, these experiences have empowered my students to develop life skills and values which make them makabayan, makatao, at makadiyos. In winning this international award, I do not claim to be the best teacher of the land. I know there are thousands of best teachers out there working silently, giving their hearts to teaching without even thinking of benefits or rewards, and I salute these teachers. In winning this award, however, I believe I was just commissioned by somebody up there to deliver the message that indeed Filipinos can be world-class. In winning this award, I have shown to the world that Filipinos can be world-class if they chose to be. But more importantly, I have shown to you, my fellow Filipinos, that you can be world-class if you chose to be. That if you give your best, you can conquer the world. During the panel interview in the US, one judge asked me, you have a PhD in biology. Why do you teach in high school? My answer was, and who will teach the kids? Another judge asked, if how much am I paid for all my pains? They were shocked when I told them that I am getting a net pay of less than $300 a month. Muntik na sila mahulog sa kanilang mga bangko. Muntik na silang umiyak at bigyan ako ng pera. Siguro that's the reason why pinanalo nila ako, At saka binigyan nila ako ng computer. Fellow Filipinos, I tell you this is my personal opinion. I'm not forcing this issue, but I believe money is not everything. Though many would say, it is closer to oxygen. Kasi kung wala kang pera, hindi ka makahinga. I am learning this over and over again from my 8-year-old son, who is now a grade 2 pupil at a SPED school for exceptional children. He reminded me about this again a couple of weeks ago when he was doing his assignment. His assignment says, list 10 words to describe your mother and 10 words to describe your father. I looked at his list and he wrote the following. What did he wrote? Allergic, in the following order. Allergic, myopic, tall, smart, famous, kind, loving. When he ran out of words, he asked, Mom, can you give me a word to describe yourself? Without batting an eyelash, I said, beautiful. And he made a sound, ngum. That's the sound of Chris Aquino's buzzer in Game Ka Nagba when you give a wrong answer. But he was quick to add, But Mom, you're the best mother in the world, and I'm happy to be your son. And even if you adopt another child, that child will be very happy too. And I think all kids who will live in this house will be very happy kids. I felt such profound joy after hearing this from my son. I did not feel this kind of joy when I won that international award in the US. I am happy that my son did not feel the inconvenience of having to live in a small house. He doesn't feel the inconvenience of having to take long jeepney rides to school. That last December, when we gave him a 90 pesos worth of toy, he declared to the world, "This is the best gift I have received from you this Christmas." I am happy that my sons are not carried away by the prevailing materialism they see on TV, in the malls, and everywhere. They are happy just because we are a family. Let me tell you more about my family. My husband is there, a retired marine engineer. We have 2 sons. The eldest is a first-year college at the University of the Philippines in the Visayas, taking up computer studies. And my youngest has just turned 9 last January 28. Malaki ang gap nila, no? I was so busy being a teacher, I forgot how to make babies. Part of our family is a house help, no? She's about 50 years old, an illiterate woman. She doesn't live with us. Actually, she just goes to our house every morning, have breakfast with us, wash our clothes, clean the house, have dinner with us, and then go home. My youngest son cannot understand why this woman cannot read or write. One day, he challenged me by saying, "Mom, you are the best teacher in the world. Why can't you teach Manang Terry how to read and write?" Sensing my dilemma, he made the answer himself. He got a pencil and paper and said, "Manang Terry, sulat tayo." Sabi ni Manang Terry, "Tuto, tumanda na ako na hindi nakahawak ng lapis. Kasi pag humawak ako ng lapis, nanginginig yung aking kamay." Sabi ng aking anak, "Ganyan din ako nung maliit akong Manang Terry. Pag humawak ako ng lapis, nanginginig din yung aking kamay." But the old woman refused to write. So this time, my son devised another plan. Kumuha siya ng children's book. Habang tumitingin ako, binabasahan niya si Manang Terry, explaining that in Hiligaynon, in Ilonggo. And this time, Manang Terry was asking a lot of questions. In fact, the tutorial lesson was becoming fun for both of them. Ngayon, every night na, binabasahan na siya ng anak ko, not only children's books. My son reads to her newspapers, encyclopedia, even Times Magazine, no? The Holy Bible, anything he can get hold of. And Manang Terry is learning about science, history, current events from my son. She's learning about the world from my son. My son is only in grade 2. He has no education background. He is not a teacher. But he has become the most effective teacher for this illiterate woman. And this sprang out because of his compassion for the woman whom he feels has missed so much of what this life has to offer just because she cannot read. And I always tell this to the teachers. Think of the millions of Filipinos in this country, Filipino children, and what they will be missing out in life if we don't open their minds to possibilities. But if we have the compassion for these children and the passion in our work, despite the absence of the laptop, laboratory facilities, even blackboards, we can still become the best teachers in the world. I tell the teachers, and I tell each of you here, just believe in what you are doing. Believe that you can make a difference in the lives of the people and the larger community. Believing, however, doesn't mean you have to stop from where you are now. Believing is improving your skills and maximizing your potentials. Alam nyo, napaka-blessed talaga ng Pilipinas kasi napakayaman natin in terms of natural resources. A couple of months ago, I read this article, no, which states that scientists from the US describe the Philippines as Galapagos 10 times. Galapagos Island, according to Darwin, is the richest island in the world. Ngayon, sabi nila, 10 times tayo as rich as Galapagos Island. Kasi daw, in terms of plant diversity, out of 500,000 species of plants, more than 250,000 species, or 50%, are found only here in the Philippines and nowhere else in the world. This is true also of our animal species. Marine life, no? In fact, yung seagrass na pinag-aaralan ko, number 2 tayo worldwide. Australia has 25 species and the Philippines has 16 reported species. Yung ibang countries, tag-iisa lang, tagdadalawa, no? We are a blessed country. It was also reported there that more than 98% of our forest resources are already gone. But despite this fact daw, kahit more than 98% na ng ating forest resources ang wala, more species are still discovered here in the Philippines than any other part of the world. 2 months ago, 4 species of mammals were discovered in Sibuyan Island. So we are really blessed. Alam niyo ba bakit napaka-blessed natin? There's a story to this. Dahil daw, nung kinreate yung first Filipino, nakiusap siya sa Diyos. Sabi niya, Lord, grant us the richest land. Dahil mahal tayo ng Diyos, sabi niya, granted. Kaya kahit ano lang itanim mo dito sa Pilipinas, tutubo yan. At ang Pilipino daw, kahit saang isla pupunta, he will grow roots. The Filipino was not contented. He said, Lord, grant us the richest seas. And the Lord said, dahil mahal niya tayo, granted. Kaya napaka-rich ng fisheries resources natin, marine life. We are very, very abundant. Hindi pa rin nakontento. Lord, grant us the most handsome men. And the Lord said, granted. Kaya ang daming gwapo dito. Oh. Pero hindi pa rin nakontento ang Pilipino. Sabi niya, and Lord, grant us the most beautiful women. Huwag na kayong lumingon, dito na lang. At that point in time, nagalit yung American who was there. Sabi niya, Lord, you're so unfair. Sabi ng Diyos, and why is that? Why do you give the best to the Filipinos? Sabi ng Lord, you shut up. You just don't know what kind of politicians I will give them. Well, in this life, in these years that I have lived on planet Earth, the most important lessons I have learned are as follows. First, that with persistence, purpose, and prayers, you can achieve great things even with what little you have. Second, that you should never stop learning because you were created for a purpose. And third, that once you have seen this purpose or calling, you should pursue this at all costs, even when there are problems along the way. And fourth, remember that your talents, skills, and opportunities come only from God and should only be used for His glory and for this country. As responsible and productive members of the Philippine society, your skills do not only contribute to our nation's well-being. Your capable hands can also paint a true image of the Filipino as a people, intelligent, hardworking, passionate, fun-loving, creative, innovative, magaling. You can paint one bright picture of this country and its people by your achievements in the workplace, your teamwork, integrity, passion for success, and your discharge of civic responsibilities. You can show the world that you are the new technocrats, capable and willing to meet the challenges of the new order of market globalization. You can show the world that you are the new citizenry, capable of making this country a worthy member of the League of Peace-Loving Nations. If you ask me now, is there hope for the Philippines? Yes, there is hope. You are the hope. You have the power to change what you do not like. You have the power to become what you want to be. Be proud. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Josette. Please remain on stage as we present to you the token of appreciation. Again, I would like to call... Okay. I would like to call in Ms. Ting Ting Roberto of Salt and Light Ventures to present the plaque of appreciation, Ms. Mia Martinez of Club Paradise to present the gift certificate, and Mr. Hener D. Zon of Kamaru Golden Leisure to present the bag for Miss Josette.
On. Thank you so much, Dr. Josette Biyo. Wasn't she such a blessing to all of you? Such an encouragement to all of us. Thank you so much. My husband was saying, how about Dr. Josette Biyo for president? Really, thank you. Salamat. Thank you. In behalf of Salt and Light Ventures, we want to present this certificate of appreciation to Dr. Josette Biyo for sharing her knowledge and wisdom at the second Achievers and Leaders Seminar. Thank you so much. You made all of us proud. Thank you. Also, in behalf of Salt and Light Ventures, we have a gift certificate here for Dr. Josette Biyo of Philippine Science High School, Visayas. This certificate entitles Dr. Josette Biyo to to books, miscellaneous books from us, from Life Cycle Press, worth 100,000 pesos for her students at the school. And you can choose the books that you like from our catalogs. Okay, this is for you. Yeah, okay. Ikaw naman, Mia.
Ako po'y isang guru din. Sobrang natuwa ako sa binigay niyong inspirasyon ngayong hapon. Ngayon, kailangan niyo naman pong mag-relax. Okay? So, in behalf of Club Paradise and Maricaban Bay in Palawan, you're entitled to have 3 days, 2 nights vacations for 2 person in Club Paradise in Coron, Palawan with breakfast, with welcome drink and free use of select resort facilities and island hiking tour. Okay.
Dr. Biyo, we are very proud of you. And speaking of world-class product, we are giving you a world-class product in Kamaru.
Salamat for my son.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Available
Sir,
yan sa Iloilo.
for my son.
Okay, thank you very much. To introduce our next speaker, let us welcome the Product Manager of PLDT Business Solutions, IP Solutions category, Mr. Edmund Pike.
Good afternoon. Our next speaker is an executive, entrepreneur, and award-winning film producer. Currently the Vice President of PLDT for Media and Strategic Communication, Mr. Butch Jimenez is better known for his past and present involvement in arts and media, such as being a producer for GMA Films, owner and Vice President for Finance of Monster Radio, owner of Optimal Digital Incorporated, and executive director and founder of Trumpet Theater Company. He was also recognized as one of the 10 outstanding young persons of the world for cultural achievement by the Junior Chamber International in France. He was also one of the 10 outstanding young men for multimedia achievement awarded by the Philippine JCs in 1998. Butch has also special achievements in the area of film and cinema. This is, of course, as the producer of excellent Filipino films such as Jose Rizal, Muro Ami, and Death Row. He's also the author and editor of 4 best-selling Christian books. He has also produced well-loved musical theater productions such as The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, and Joseph the Dreamer. Butch is also involved as the founder and executive director of the Play Shop Academy, now the #1 summer multimedia workshop school with over 2,000 students all over the Philippines. So leaders, please help me welcome Mr. Butch Jimenez.
I like your music. Thank you. I love Disney. Probably be talking about him sometime in this lecture. Thank you very much for inviting me to grace this occasion. This is my second time to be speaking in this forum. Sila RD asked me if I could say the same thing that I said during the first Achievers seminar. No? And I was actually all prepared to just come here and do the same thing. But last night, I kind of figured that I did want to come up with a different message or something slightly different than what I did the last time. So I felt that I would shift gears today and give a different topic, though I would also dwell on teamwork and team building to a certain degree. Became a bit difficult because I found out also last night that my son had a show or a presentation today in school at exactly the same time as my speaking engagement, which was at 1 o'clock. And so it was a dilemma for me, but I did text RD and asked him if he could kindly move my slot and my session, because useless to be excellent in the world but not excellent with your family. And so I'm sorry if I was a bit late. I think I struck some fear in the hearts of the organizers because they weren't sure if I'd make it on time. But previous to this, I was with my son watching him do his play. And so I'm glad I was able to watch him, and I'm glad now that I'm with you today to be able to share with you some insights, not just on team building, but I would also want to tackle the issue of leadership, and thirdly, the issue of what you and I need to be able to meet the challenges of the 21st century. I think the Philippines is going to go through critical times. We're going to go through turbulent times, and we're going to go through difficult times. And I guess I would like to take this opportunity as well to be able to share with you something that I share quite often when I do speaking engagements, and that's basically what the values are we need to be able to meet the challenges of the 21st century. To Josette, I don't know if she's still here. It's nice to be in the same platform and forum with you. She and I received the TOIM award the same year, so she is a co-awardee during, I don't know when we got it, I think 1998 or 1999, somewhere along that. But we were in the same batch of awardees, and I'm very proud of that, and even prouder today that we do get a chance to go around and share what we've learned over these past few years together. In fact, if you want to hear her again, or for some reason you want to hear me again, you can actually drop by the TOIM Student Forum, which we will be holding, if not Tuesday or Wednesday, towards the end of February. We've invited Josette to speak, myself, and probably 10 other TOIM awardees, primarily to students, and help them with insights on what our theme would be, which is to uphold excellence. But for now, let's talk about teamwork. We are a people that love heroes. We love winners, and we love superstars. That's why possibly we will have a superstar who will become president of our country today and in the next few months. We adore the point guard that makes the buzzer-beating three-point shot. We hail the coach that delivers the championship trophy. Or in the corporate world, we salute the CEO that delivers the profits for the year. However, as much as we admire the man or the woman who made it happen, we should also never forget that it took other people, some of whom we will never see, to bring home the championship, any championship. The folly of superstars and successful leaders is when they start thinking they can succeed on their own. When people start concentrating on me instead of we, President Lyndon Johnson rightly said, there are no problems we cannot solve together and very few that we can solve by ourselves. The theory of relativity, which revolutionized the world, has always been attributed to just one man, and that's Albert Einstein. But Einstein himself acknowledges that, and I quote, "Many times a day I realize how much my own outer and inner life is built upon the labors of my fellow men, and how earnestly I must exert myself in order to give in return as much as I have received." It has been said that one is too small a number to achieve greatness. So we should never forget the value of teamwork. As we cheer the superstar, we must also realize the work and the effort put in by every other member of the team that made a significant contribution to the victory. It is teamwork that makes things happen. If you look all around you and you try to figure out how did this guy succeed, or how did this company succeed, or how did this team succeed, or how did this organization succeed, or if you ask yourself, how will my company succeed? How will my project succeed? How will my endeavor succeed? You cannot take that apart from the essence of teamwork. There is absolutely no way you can succeed on your own. It does not happen, and it will not happen. A lot of the things that was said earlier about basically my achievement in the past, whether it be in the arena of film like Jose Rizal and Muroami, whether it be in the arena of theater or television or corporate communications, whatever it is, I will dare say that there was absolutely no way I could have done that on our own. And the only way such achievement was met was because of a team that had been put in place and teamwork. And that's why it becomes very crucial if you are to move ahead, or if you are to be leaders in your field and make a difference and succeed in your endeavors. It is important that you are able to put a team together that will deliver to you that championship trophy. It cannot be done with one person. As they say, one is too small a number to achieve greatness. If you're going to try to do it by yourself, it will never happen. And so I'd like to share with you what you and I need to do to be able to build a good team that can win the championship or bring home the championship. But first, let's talk about some misconceptions. Some people say that a team can be built overnight. All you have to do is put people together and you already have a team. That is a misconception, and that is something that will lead all of us towards failure if that's what we feel a championship team or a good team is made of, or that it can be done over a very short period of time. Teams are built for a long period of time. Teams are built over crisis, over working together, and over a period of time that helps mold a team together and move it forward. And so if you don't have a team yet and you want to be able to accomplish an endeavor, it is important you start building your team today, because it will take time to build the team that is going to deliver that championship trophy. Second, some people think that once you have a team, that everybody is going to be on board and pull forward together. That also rarely happens. There will always be holdouts. I've built teams, or I've led teams in different arenas, in the arena of film, in the arena of theater, in the arena of radio, in post-production. And there are always some people in the team that would be holdouts, that they will not want to be a part of the team. That's okay. And when you do face that kind of a situation, all you have to do is tell that person that you can be a holdout just don't stand in our way. That's basically what I do when there are holdouts in that team. So if we understand now the misconceptions, we will not fall into traps and be disappointed. So we are to build a team. We have to remember it's going to take some time, and there will be some people that may not want to be a member of that team or not be a team player, but that is okay. We still forge ahead and we still move ahead. How do we now build a team? There are a few factors that we have to keep in mind to be able to build a good team. The first is competence. We must have good people on our team. And what are the qualities of a good person? One, of course, is skill. But over and above skill, more than just skill, the person that you are looking for must be willing to learn, must want to excel, and must be people-oriented. Those are the qualities that you must look for in a person if you are to build a good and competent team. True skill is important. They've got to understand the job, they've got to know how to do the job, and they've got to understand their role. But there are a lot of many good people and skillful people that don't have the right attitude. So if you are to look and try to call some people into your team or draw some people into your team, keep in mind you look for the following factors: that they would want to learn, that they want to excel, and that they are people-oriented. You find people with that kind of an attitude, you add the skill to that, you would have found a good member of your team. Some people tell me, but Butch, it's so difficult to draw people to my team. Because everybody is motivated by money, and I don't have that kind of a money. I've learned from day one, even in management school, and sometimes I don't really believe it, but as I move on with life, I've started to realize that it is true. Early on in my career, somebody told me that money is the lowest form of motivation. So if you're trying to motivate people with money, if you are trying to get people because of money, then chances are it's going to be very difficult for you, or you will fail, because money is the lowest form of motivation. So what is it that is going to draw people to your team? What is it that is going to make them stick to your team? Is it going to be money? Is it going to be higher salaries? It's going to be higher benefits? True, that may help. But there are things that are more important than that to a person who belongs to a team that they look for. They may not say it. They may tell you, hindi, importante sa akin talaga pera. Pag hindi mo ako sweldoan, aalis ako. Pag hindi mo ako sweldoan ng malaki, aalis ako dito. They may tell you that. But in the depths of one's heart, there is something else that an employee or a team member is looking for apart from money. A survey was conducted to try and bring out what are these factors that make a person, or what are the factors that a person considers important in his job or in his responsibility. And these are the answers. The first and most important factor for a person is that he works with people and a boss who treats him with respect. And that's true. I can pay you the highest salary, but if I treat you with disrespect, or I treat you like a dog, or I treat you like a nobody, you are going to leave the organization no matter how big your salary is. However, even if your salary is just right, or maybe lower than just right, if the people you work with, if your boss looks at you with significance, treats you with respect, I guarantee you that person is going to stay. The first factor that a person considers the most important in his job is not money. It is that the people that he works with treats him with respect. The second most important, again, is not money. It is that he gets recognized for his good work. That's the second most important factor that people consider. The third, again, is not money. It is working for people who listen to my ideas. It's working for people who listen. working for people who value what your comments are, value what your suggestions are, value what your points are. The fourth most important factor is again not money. It is that the person finds his job interesting and finds significance in what he does. The fifth, finally, is money. The sixth is good benefits. The seventh is a chance to train and develop his skills. And the eighth is working for efficient and competent managers or efficient and competent leaders. So you will see, if you want to draw good people into your team, and your question is, well, I don't have the money, you will realize that drawing people to a team or making people part of a team is not all about money. It is more than that. In one word, it is all about significance. It is about making people significant or feel significant in your organization. If you are able to do that, you will be able to draw the people in. One of the reasons why I have never left a company called Trumpets is because I want to prove this point. Trumpets is a theater group. It's a theater organization where it's basically a foundation or a ministry, if you may, where I lead that company or I draw the best people into that company, not through money, because I can't afford it. It is, people are drawn into that group primarily because of this. It is because of significance. It is because you are able to make the people in that organization feel good about what they do, significant in their job, and at the same time be able to achieve a goal. Today, Trumpets is probably the biggest and most successful music theater group in this whole country. And that group is run by significance and not by money, or the people in that group. So you want to pull a good team together, first you've got to build competence in that team. If you don't have competence in your team, it's going to be a failure. The team isn't going to do well, and you're not going to make things happen. The second quality that you and I must be able to put together to be able to build a good team is definitely a common goal. You've got to be able to have a goal that people would aspire for and people would want to work for or labor for. When we started Jose Rizal, the goal was to come up with a film that will change the landscape of Philippine movie making. It was to come up with a film that would bring Jose Rizal back to the hearts and minds of the Filipino people. When we did our second movie, Muro Ami, the goal was to be able to expose to the public the evils of child exploitation through that illegal fishing method known as Muro Ami. When we did Death Row, our third movie, the goal was not just to make a movie. The goal was to be able to put the judicial system on trial, because we maintained that there are minors inside death row. The judicial system or the Bureau of Jail said, no, there are no minors inside death row. We said, yes, there are minors inside death row, and that is against the law. And we did the movie to put the judicial system on trial. And eventually, 2 weeks after the movie was shown, the Bureau of Jails realized that there are minors inside death row, and they were able to take 7 out, if I am not mistaken. So what's the point? The point is, you have a team in place, you've got to give that team a goal. And you've got to give that team a goal that they will aspire for and that they will drive hard for. If all I said was, let's make a movie, no one is going to have that passion to be able to come up with a Jose Rizal. There will be no Jose Rizal if our goal was just to make a movie. The reason why there is a Jose Rizal is because we have a goal of changing the landscape of Philippines movie making, and we had a goal of bringing Jose Rizal into the hearts and minds of the Filipino people. You've got to have a goal that transcends yourself, a goal that they can see that when they're able to achieve it, when they're able to achieve that goal, they will feel significant. Again, back to that word, significance. It's not, let's make this movie, so let's make it the biggest blockbuster, and in the end, I can give you all your bonuses. It's not that. It's not money. These guys were not paid with money. If you ask Cesar Montano, Marilu Diaz-Abaya, the production designer, Leo Abaya, if you ask the cinematographer, Roddy Lacap, of these movies, they all took salary cuts more than half of their salary. It was not about money. That team is all about significance. The third thing that you have to develop if you want to build a good team and bring a team to move forward is you've got to be able to develop a good working atmosphere. That working atmosphere that you live with, that working atmosphere that you work in, it's got to be good. If it isn't a good working atmosphere, your team is going to fail. Your team is not going to move forward. Your team is going to stop. It is important that a good working atmosphere is built. And how is this done? First rule, if you want to build a good working atmosphere, and you are the leader of this team, I am assuming that everybody in this room is either a leader or is soon to be a leader or has the capacity to become a leader, in which case this is your responsibility. Building that atmosphere is your responsibility. There is only one person who can build a good atmosphere in the organization. It is the leader. It is the boss. It is the head. No one else. There's no way an employee can build a good atmosphere. It's gotta be the leader. And how does